Welcome to the FHA Software Video Training Series. This is Dwayne Tinsley with Simply Computer Software. With this video, we're going to look at the accounting features that are provided with your FHA software program. So let's get to it. So we click on the icon, enter the user ID and password. The main window comes up and we have accounting pull down. So this is basically where all the accounting features are in the accounting pull down. And let me say this before we get into it. The accounting is built in. It's not modulated, integrated. You got to import, parse, or whatever. It is built into the program. So when you activate a tenant change, let's say you move a tenant in mid-month, the first month's rent will automatically be prorated with your approval and charge the security deposit as well. So the accounting knows instantly that there's a new tenant, what the rent rates are, subsidy, things like that, as well as charging the rent, charging the security deposit. The other thing is the program automatically knows what rent to charge. For affordable housing, monthly tenant rent recurs on the first day of each month. Why should I have to tell the program that? The program knows that. So monthly recurring tenant rent is automatically charged. So you can do past, current, or future reports, and the program knows at any given time what rent subsidy is in effect for that time frame, and you can do all your reports without having to do any charge process for your tenant rent. So basically it's a big deal. Other software doesn't accommodate that. So accounting, the pull down. The top section has to do with setting up the accounting. The middle section is data entry, printing checks, voiding checks, things like that. And then you have your financial statement section, your tenant related reports section, and some utilities. So basically we're not going to get into the step-by-steps. We got step-by-step training series videos for all of these features, so look for those if you want to look at the step-by-step. But right now we're just going to do a brief review of what's available with our accounting features. So the first thing is accounting defaults. This tells the accounting feature what to do. It tells you, tells the program, is your project a cash accounting method or an accrual accounting method? Is this a calendar year reporting period or fiscal? What's your net income year-to-date account number, so that the program can automatically clear that at the end of the year to a retained earnings account? What kind of security deposit account do you have? Because it processes the security deposit refunds. Is it a checking or a savings account? Do you refund interest? Things like that. So basically the accounting default sets up your accounting features. Tenant charge codes. Anything your tenants would ever pay you for has a charge code. And so tenant rent, security deposit, NSF check fees, late fees, damages, things like that. If your tenant pays for cable TV each month or a parking space, you set that up as a tenant charge code, and then you forget about it. When you charge the tenant, adjust the tenant's rent, or they make a payment, it's all basically referencing a charge code. You don't have to worry about what gets debited, credited, and things like that. So tenant charge codes. Payment alerts. Basically we have an option here where we can alert, we can note, we can assign alerts to tenants that means something. The tenant has an eviction in progress, only accept cash payments, intends to vacate. You can add up to 30 additional codes. You want to keep track of people that have pets or whatever. So basically needs reasonable accommodations. Whatever you want to be alerted and noted pertaining to specific tenants, you can set up, and then this gets noted on various reports, rent roll reports, stage receivables, any letters, things like that. You will be alerted of these additional notifications for whatever tenants it's applicable for. Bank accounts. It's an accounting program. So you got to keep track of your bank accounts. You're going to be reconciling your bank accounts. You can enter and record payables in one of three ways. You can enter a manually written check. You can have the program print on pre-printed check stock, and you can also print on blank check paper. That's called MICR encoded check stock, where the program automatically fills out the entire check. So basically, here's where you would enter your bank information as it pertains to each of your properties and the bank type, operating, reserve, tax and insurance, and so forth. So vendors, if you want to keep track of people you write checks to, maybe to do 1099s or just in general, be able to provide or get a history of things that you paid and or continue to owe towards a specific vendor throughout the whole program, you set them up as a vendor. And that's done in the vendor that counts. Chart of accounts. We provide 3 demo projects with the program: HUD demo, RHS demo, and S42. S42 is tax credit, RHS is rural development, HUD is of course HUD. And so RHS demo, we provide a chart of accounts set that has line item by line item that is on the project budget and the balance sheet. And likewise, if you're 100% HUD, we provide the HUD chart of account that you use as well. And you can copy them from project to project. You can add to them, edit them, any which way you want, but you don't have to manually enter your chart of accounts from scratch. You can. If you've got a 100% tax credit project, the RD budget, or not budget, the chart of account is a very good chart of account that can accommodate tax credits, but you can enter your own chart of account. We can import chart of accounts from other software too, so very accommodating. So that's the setup. That's basically sets up the property. Now you're doing data entry. So AR, tenant payment entry. This screen is where anything you're going to record as far as tenant payments, tenant charge, adjustments, or payments are recorded here. Let's pick a tenant here, Joseph Smith. So basically we've selected a tenant. You can select a past, current, or even a future tenant. You got somebody on the waiting list that's already given you first month's rent deposit, they're a future tenant. And so you can record anything as if they're an existing tenant for future tenants as well. Up at the top, information about the tenant. Here's where you can select the alerts. You just click on alerts, and it basically pulls up the thing, and you can select the alerts, and then you'll see them as well. You can view batch details of prior deposits or the current deposit that's open. The middle section where you do the data entry, we got a tenant ledger section, but basically this is where on the lower right hand corner you can add a payment, create an adjustment, create a charge, or even edit the existing ledger. You can print a tenant ledger from here for the tenant. You can import online rent payments, and we currently have an interface, a partnership with Payables and Rent Payment. So that's features that are nice if you allow tenants to pay their rent online. You can also, if you have a project where your tenants get a voucher subsidy, tenant vouchers, instead of recording that one check individually tenant by tenant, you can come in here and basically record all the tenant. You just select the tenant names that the check consists of that's paying the assistance for, and boom, you're done. You don't have to hunt and find the tenants and record them individually. So tenant payment entry. So that's basically what that is. Recurring tenant charges. You can come in here and, like I say, pick a tenant. We'll pick Joseph Smith, and basically you can set up other recurring tenant charges other than rent. Remember, the program automatically charges monthly recurring rent. So if this person has cable TV, you can basically add that the person pays, let's say, $25 a month. starting January 1st. You can leave it open-ended, boom, boom, boom. You save it. The program automatically charges that each month until you tell it to stop or the tenant moves out. So that's recurring tenant charges. Journal entries. So anything you don't physically deposit or write a check for is a journal entry. Let's see, laundry money, beginning balances, bank interest, bank charges. Here's an example. I'll pull up an existing one. Your beginning balances. You get our program from day one, and you've got to tell the program, give it a start. What's my bank balances? Where did I leave off? You enter those as journal entries. And so you have that. Adding new adjustments. Let's say you've got bank charges. You got all your bank statements sitting on your desk. You come in here one time. You're not locked in a property. You don't select one project and then do things throughout the program for that one project. What do you want to do? I want to record my bank charges. You go into the journal entry feature. Line 1 could be the first project. Line 2 could be the second project's bank charges. Line 3 can be your other project. So all 20 lines, of course, you're not limited to 20 lines. You only see 20 at a time, but you can progress to the next 20, previous 20, and enter all your bank charges, your bank interest, anything that's a journal entry that pertains to all your projects can be entered at the same time from the same window. So you have the ability to recur journal entries. You also have the ability to import, and we can import from spreadsheets, CSV files, things like that. So if you're a spreadsheet person and you'd rather ahead of time use a spreadsheet to formulate your entries, you can do that, and then our program will automatically import them in. So cool feature. Payables. This is where you go to enter who you owe, your payables. And so let's look at an example of some payables here. So basically, you're entering a vendor, bank type you're going to draw the money from, some invoice number or memo notations, and then each line represent an item that's going to be on the check. Going back, if you're going to add a new disbursement, you can pick a vendor. So let's pick like Home Depot. Just like the journal entry, every single line, let's say you have a Home Depot, you've got 5 projects that owe money to Home Depot. You can, each line could be a separate project. Again, you're not locked in within a property, not locked in time in our program either. So basically, very simple data entry process for your payables. You can select vendors, you can select tenants, and let's say a tenant's overpaid their rent, you want to reimburse them their overpaid rent. You just write a check to the tenant and then pick the charge code, and that it's overpaid, you're reimbursing, or tenant rent or whatever, and it's done, and it links with the tenant's ledger. So you can print reports, disbursement summary, aged payables, check listings, recurring check listing. You can export to your bank to comply with positive pay banking if you're signed up to do so. And we import from QuickBooks, ADP payroll, and also same thing. We can import AP entries from spreadsheet, XML file or whatever. So lots of options. You can recur. You can recur your checks. You can recur, of course, create your utility refund payables. It automatically will create the payables. It knows who your tenants are that are due utility refunds. So you can do that as a payable. And I'll show you also, you can actually just right off the bat go into the check printing process and create the payable and print the check at the same time. So anyway, AP, without getting into too much more detail. Check printing process. It's where you go to print your checks. If you're printing on pre-printed check stock or you're printing MICR checks. Lots of opportunity. Let's see RHS demo. Let's preview what do we got for payables here. It'll come up in a sec. And so we owe rural development $658, and we've got a $38,000 bank balance. Okay, let's include our utility refund checks for September. And there they are. So we got 2 tenants that's got utility refund. Do them. The program knows if you've already paid them, or if they're not eligible, maybe they got an expired lease or whatever. So very simple. A lot of selection criteria to consolidate, to make partial payments, pay a check for a specific vendor only. Lots of opportunity there to customize your check run. Voiding checks. Like I say, I'm kind of going a little fast. We do have detailed by detailed video training series that do the step-by-steps, but I'm just kind of going through each feature. Void checks process. These are all the lists of all your checks that are available to be voided. If you've reconciled these checks to a bank statement, you're not going to void them, so they're not going to be listed. You can void the check only. You can void and reprint. Let's say somebody lost their check, so you void the one you issue and you reprint a new one. Or you can simply reprint. Let's say you sent the check run to the wrong printer and you didn't have your checks in that printer. You didn't waste any check numbers and stuff, so basically you can reprint them to the right printer. But anyway, good option. Very simple process for voiding checks. Bank reconciliation. Bank reconciliation feature. Let's put in a date and reconcile your bank statements from here. We have several ways of reconciling bank statements, so it's very simple. Bank reconciliation. So, financial statements, any and all the financial normal accounting statements. We have a bank balance summary that you can just select your project, boom, you've got your bank balances. You can do it for all your projects at the same time. I don't think I have demo-wise all of them, so it's not a good example, but you can see at just a couple mouse clicks all your bank balances. You can print them out and use this report, so it's a cool feature. And then we go into like balance sheets. So balance sheet isn't just a balance sheet. Balance sheet has variations of balance sheets and trial balances. So your time frame, you want to zero suppress, is it fiscal versus calendar? Do you want to do accrual versus cash? Do you want to consolidate for multiple properties? Let's say you have an owner, he's got 5 projects, and he wants one balance sheet. He doesn't want 5 individual balance sheets. And yes, you can do that. We've got standards, current versus prior month versus prior year, 12-month calendar, 12-month trailing trend, trial balance. You can customize your balance sheets. So very neat feature for balance sheets. So all the reports are pretty much, the setup's the same. Operating statements, basically the same, but you got a lot of variations of an operating statement. So the standard, cost per unit, budgeting, 12-month actuals, 12-month budgets, a lot of budget comparisons, and likewise you can for fiscal year, calendar year, cash, accrual, consolidate your multi-property, same options, but it's operating statements. General ledger, very simple. A lot of the same features, your time frame, your multi-property options, of course, with consolidations, fiscal year, calendar year, cash, accrual. You got summaries, portrait or landscape details. You can select specific account numbers only, things like that. You can also export this information if you're exporting to other accounting or spreadsheets or whatever. So very simple. So lots of options. Batch deposit, these are all your batch deposit summaries. You can consolidate them, print them portrait. Landscape's going to provide more detail. Sort the list in any which way you want. You can print a deposit slip. Cool feature. Check register. This is like your checkbook. And so let's look at January. For the month of January, we'll select the checking account and to the screen. And so basically this is January's checkbook. Let's make it so everybody can see it better. So basically your operating account, your main checking, chronological by date, AR, AJ, AP, debit, credit, running balance. So basically this is like your checkbook. All the debits are deposits, credits are withdrawals, whether they're accounts receivable, AJ, AP entries. If you have a check that's split out of 18 ways, no, it's a total amount of check. When you reconcile to your bank statement, a lot of people use this to reconcile. It's going to be an apples to apples. Your bank statement doesn't show every single tenant's rent check that they paid. It shows the deposit slip total. And same thing with the check. It doesn't care how many times the check was split out. It's the total amount of the check. So this is a good report, check register report, to reconcile or at least start your bank reconciliation with. So you can combine accounts, you can save selected chart of account numbers if you keep going back and use the same things like that. So very simple, check register report. What else we got here? Check register, vendor ledger. So basically your vendor, any and all reports that have to do with who have I paid, what are the details, things like that for payments made to a specific vendor is in the vendor ledger report. Then we've got 1099. Our program does 1099s. And so the 1099 and the 1096, and prints the form out. You buy pre-printed 1099, 1096 stock, and you just load them in your printer, and our program fills them out. So 1099 processing is always fun at the end of the year. So that's financial reports. Tenant reports. You've got rent roll report. And it's kind of like the financial reports. Rent roll, it depends on how detailed do you want to get. Rent roll could be very simple. Basically, if I just click OK, it's going to show me very simply what's the current balances for all the existing tenants. So let's bring this up real quick here. So basically, in summary, we don't know what the balances consist of. Is it all rent, late fee, security deposit? But basically, the starting point is a rent roll summary is balances. So beginning balances for September, what's been charged in September, adjusted, paid, what the ending balances are. So you can further get detailed, what does the balance consist of? Late fee, NSF charges, rent, security deposit. You can include cash, future tenants. You can see utility refund activity as well. If you got tenants where you actually pay them a utility refund, you can include that detail in with the rent roll or any AR related tenant ledger, things like that. Reports, you can see the utility refund activity on a tenant by tenant basis as well. Just like subsidy, rural development or HUD subsidy. You can see all the subsidy that's been paid on the tenant's behalf in a rent roll, aged receivable, tenant ledger report as well. So anyway, rent roll report, and then we've got aged receivables. Let's see what that looks like. So aged receivables is basically the same thing as the rent roll report. Same selection criteria, current, past, future tenants, details, things like that. It's just the aged receivables will basically provide the balance due, but then show you what's 30, 60, 90, or over 90 days due. But same selection criteria. That's the aged receivables. Then you got rent statements. Rent statements is like, and it's a statement. Let's just show it on the screen. It's like when you go to a hotel, the last day of your stay, they slip that invoice underneath your door. It's basically a statement of rent due for whatever time frame. It could be the current month, it could be next month. But it's a neat way. Same selection criteria as the other tenant-related reports. You got a tenant ledger, and this would be for all the tenants for any time frame, current, past, future. You can group them by charge code. Lots of activity criteria that you can select, and so, but it's the same layout as far as the selection. So the reports will get from being very, simple summaries to very detailed. So rent roll, age receivable, rent statements, tenant ledger. So from a summary to a very entry by entry, charge, adjustment, payment, entry detail. Delinquent rent report, you can automatically charge late fees. You can print notices, summaries, things like that. Again, same selection criteria, current, past, future tenants, specific charge codes, but very simple and easy process to get the information you want. Then we've got about 4 security deposit related features. Security deposit report is the basic report that basically will tell you what security deposits am I holding at any given day, not locked in time. So here's just a summary of what you're currently liable for. We've got a tenant, Robert Hendrickson, that moved out, so we are still holding his security deposit. But you can do the summary, and then you can do the ledger. The ledger, of course, provides when you charge the security deposits and when they paid their deposits to arrive at the balance. So and again, it can be selection criteria is similar to the other tenant related reports. Security deposit interest refunds in Illinois. You have to refund security deposit interest annually when they recertify. So this feature here will tell you what it is based on an interest rate. It'll even create the payable for you. So that's what that feature does. And the refund. A program automatically refunds tenant security deposits. So of course you move them out. That makes them a past tenant. You can come in here, pull them up. Program knows what they paid, the number of days. If you want to add interest, if they owe any money, you'll be able to apply that as well. You can get a report that shows kind of a reconciliation of the security deposit refund. So it shows what they paid, if you're refunding interest, and then anything that's been going to be forfeited, and the net refund that will be given back to the tenant. So fully automated, makes all the entries for you. Very good process, very clean and very fast process. Security deposit historical entry. So when you first use our program, you establish an accounting start date. It's like beginning balances for your bank balance and stuff. You have to tell the system what security deposits you're currently holding. So you just select each tenant individually. It knows what the move-in date is, and you just enter the amount of security deposit that you are currently holding. The program then automatically creates a retroactive charge and payment entry, bringing the program up to date with what you currently have for your security deposit liability. So that's what that feature does. And the last one here, certificate of rent paid. A lot of states, you hand your tenant at the end of each year a summary of what they've paid so that they can then use it for their tax returns. And a lot of selection criteria, a lot of states do this, and so this automatically generates those forms for you. So it's a good process. So that's financial statements, tenant reports, utilities, basically closing batches or deposits, closing months, reposting your general ledger for whatever reason. Something happens, your computer shut down in the middle of posting or whatever. Purging, keeping your computer clean. We do some custom features too. Not a lot, but anything that's good for one is good for all. So we try not to just customize for one entity. If it's a good feature for one, we'll do it for everybody. The only other, so that's all the accounting. There's our other accounting related things like work orders. So in the work order feature, let's pull one up here. General maintenance for unit 111. So basically you can come in here and any labor that you're going to pay someone to do work, you can automatically charge, create a payable here, parts used and things like that. Somebody broke a window and they're going to end up having to pay for it. You can actually create a charge right from the work order feature. So it's all tied in. Everything is all tied in and very simple. We specifically went with pull downs to keep the screen simple. So that pretty much was the help. So if you have any questions, would like more information about our accounting feature, let us know. Be sure to monitor our video training series page for more FHA software related feature details. So otherwise, thank you very much.